Now, Republicans are also pressing their case. They have been better organized than Democrats across Florida and believe they are poised to win the state. President Trump will be in South Florida tonight for an 11:30 p.m. rally at Opa-locka Executive Airport. Now, that rally is expected to draw as many as 10,000 people, and it would violate Miami-Dade's curfew. But it's not just about the curfew. Miami-Dade also requires everyone attending the rally to wear a face mask and to remain socially distant from one another. And yet we all know that the president will pack people together, and the vast majority will not wear face masks. So what will Miami-Dade's Mayor Carlos Jimenez do about that? The day before he granted the president a permit for his rally, Jimenez appeared at St. Thomas University, saying we are now seeing a rise in coronavirus cases and that hospitalizations and ventilator use was also on the rise.
There's been talk about lifting the curfew, and right now I don't think that that's the right move. I'm not going to do it until we are assured that we have cleared this hurdle and try to keep this contagion as low as possible. I see now, I'm looking at my Twitter, and there's a big Halloween thing going on in the city of Miami that they're going to go from 8 to 8. And, I hope that the city of Miami enforces the curfew. If not, then I guess we're going to have to do it. Because we know that these kind of events are super spreader events, and we need to limit that.
Take a second. Did you hear what he said? He was threatening to bust up a Halloween party because it could potentially be a super spreader event. And yet we don't know exactly what he's doing. And he's remaining silent and will allow the president to pack thousands of people together at the Opa-locka Airport. Now, joining me to discuss this is Democratic Congresswoman Debbie Mucarsel Powell. Jimenez is challenging her in the race for Florida's 26th congressional district. Congresswoman, thank you very much for joining us. I want to get your reaction.
Good morning, Jim.
Good morning. I want to get your reaction to the rally planned for tonight at 11:30 at Opa-locka.
Yeah. Look, the hypocrisy of the mayor has absolutely no limits. We know now, there was a study released yesterday, Stanford University released a study that ties thousands of cases to the rallies that the president has been holding and a few hundred deaths. And I can tell you, he has threatened small businesses, small restaurants, that he was going to fine them if they didn't abide by the curfew, yet we hear nothing from the mayor on a rally in a place. We already know that Miami-Dade County was the epicenter of coronavirus in the summer. We can't let that happen again. It is irresponsible. It is dangerous. It puts our healthcare workers at risk as well. So, I mean, he needs to come out and tell the president that he has to abide by the curfew and enforce the face masks. The last thing that I would like to see, especially because of the people that I represent in this community, who are those frontline workers that continue to go and take care of patients that are getting COVID, is to enforce the face masks and make sure that the rally is not out of control like what we've seen in other cities across America.
Well, Congresswoman, let me just sort of ask you, because, as I've discussed this with a number of people, and by the way, I should also say, we invited Mayor Jimenez to come on this morning to sort of explain exactly his thinking in allowing this rally to continue, to offer some sort of explanation for how he's going to enforce county rules and regulations. He has not come on, and as far as I know, has refused to answer any questions about this. But in talking to a number of different people, I hear from folks that say, yeah, but it's the president. You can't really say no to the president if he wants to hold a rally here in South Florida. What's your response to that?
Look, the president has lied about the threat of COVID. We know that. And when the president lies, it costs lives. For the safety of our community here in South Florida, we have a vulnerable population, Jim. We have an elderly population that has been at risk. We also have a high number of Latino community, which we now know here, Hispanics are disproportionately affected by COVID. And so we need to be extra careful in how we maintain safety measures through a pandemic. We are still through a pandemic. Unfortunately, this president has continued to lie. And unfortunately, the mayor follows him in lockstep. I mean, he does whatever is convenient for him politically. And that's not the leadership that we need.
Well, as we know, the president tweeted an endorsement of Carlos Jimenez, and Carlos Jimenez Jimenez is counting on Trump supporters in your district to turn out in large numbers to support him. Do you think that's part of the political rationalization here he's making?
Well, interestingly enough, Jim, I can tell you I've been in so many different election sites, early voting election sites, and also knocking on doors. My team has done the same. And I can't tell you the number of Republicans and actually Trump supporters that are saying, you know what, I'm going to vote for you. I have been extremely disappointed with this mayor. They don't like the mayor. They don't respect the mayor. They know that the mayor does not deserve a promotion. I know that he's term limited out and he doesn't know what he's going to do. He's been living off of government for decades now. And the truth of the matter is that my constituents know that I have been working for them, protecting their health care, working on protecting our environment, making sure that fishermen, farm workers get the economic relief that they need. And we know that Carlos Jimenez does not want to support any further economic relief. We know that Carlos Jimenez supports the repeal of the Affordable Care Act in an area where we have the second largest number of people that get their health care through the ACA.
Well, let me just
we're working hard.
Let me just sort of ask you, because there was a couple of things I want to also touch on real quick with you. We saw the video that went viral nationally at a post office in your district where piles and piles of mail were just sort of sitting in boxes and cartons and the rest of it. We now know from the post office officials that there were about 48 ballots found, only about 10 or so or fewer that were actually filled out. The rest were supposed to be delivered to folks. One, do you accept the post office's explanation that there were only a handful of ballots? And how concerned are you that we may be seeing something like this in other post offices around the county and around the country for that matter?
The minute that I found out that there was an issue at that Princeton location, I immediately went there and called the officials, not just the Postmaster General and the IG, but other officials as well in Washington, D.C. I called Congress members who conduct oversight over the Postal Service. And so I can tell you that, yes, they confirmed actually that there were a few dozen ballots that were being held and just a few number of them of people that had already voted. But any hold of any ballot, even if it was one, is completely unacceptable. So tomorrow morning, I'm going to have a briefing from the Postmaster Inspector General's office to first understand what happened, and second, to ensure that they are supervising all the different postal services. But again, Jim, this is a pattern. We saw the president appoint DeJoy, who has already said that, he's not going to reverse any of the machines that he took away.
Let me just jump in, because Congresswoman, we only have about 30 seconds. We see Barack Obama coming back to the state. We saw Kamala Harris making a plea as well. There are a number of Democrats, some of your congressional colleagues, that are concerned that the African American vote is not coming out in numbers sufficient to help them, whether it's in Miami Gardens or down in your district in Florida City. How confident are you that African Americans are going to turn out? And we only have about 20 seconds, so if you could be brief.
We have the support of our pastors, of community leaders in South Dade that are right now working to ensure that we have great turnout. I'm excited. I'm feeling optimistic, and I'm glad to welcome back President Barack Obama. That's only going to help us. So working hard through November 3rd, and I'm feeling optimistic. Cautiously optimistic, but optimistic. All
right, Congresswoman, thank you very much. Again, we did invite Carlos Jimenez to come on, and he declined our offer. All right, so when we come back, the spread of disinformation in Spanish when this special edition of Facing South Florida continues.